Marcus Stroman has a history of beefing with many people, and now it's becoming known for him to beef with entire teams and organizations. Why does he hate certain teams? Well, for simply choosing other players than him, most if not all the time, who are better. If he does get passed up on, whether it's a trade or in free agency, that team is automatically racist and bigoted. As far as the New York Mets go, they are public enemy number one on Stroman's list. In 2019, Marcus Stroman became an all-star for the first time in his career, with it simultaneously becoming his last year with the only team he'd ever known up until that point, the Toronto Blue Jays. In 124 and 2/3 innings to start the season, Stroman pitched to a 2.96 ERA while striking out 99 hitters. He was dominant. The Jays, on the other hand, were not, deciding to sell at the deadline and trade Stroman. Naturally, you'd expect the Blue Jays, a team that's out of the race, to trade one of the better pitchers on the market to a contender, and they did. Well, sorta. Stroman was traded to the New York Mets, a team that was in it pretty deep into the season before missing out on October. When the news hit, some stuff went down. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the Blue Jays had just lost to the Tampa Bay Rays when reporters started to hear a commotion inside of the Blue Jays clubhouse while waiting to go in for their post-game interviews. It was Marcus Stroman, and he wasn't happy. Did he have a really bad game? No, in fact, he didn't even pitch that game, and he wasn't furious about the loss in general. Stroman had just learned that he'd been traded. The next thing to assume was that he was upset he got traded from the Jays and wanted to stay on the team, but no, he actually wanted to get traded in the first place. Marcus was upset and disappointed when finding out the team he was traded to, the Mets. The Blue Jays decided not to open their clubhouse to the media during that moment because of this, and when questioned on the issue, they told reporters, "There's a reason it's closed." And according to Rob Longley from the Toronto Sun, Stroman's initial reaction to the trade was not pretty. Apparently, Stroman wanted to be traded to a more serious contender like the Yankees or Astros, and his very own father confirmed that, claiming his son was hoping that it would be the Yankees. Well, now, Stroman has since taken a complete 180, most likely because the Yankees passed on the opportunity to trade for him in 2019. In early 2021, Stroman was asked how excited he was to pitch for the Mets since he's originally from Queens. Nowhere in that question prompts the Yankees to be brought up, right? Well, the Yankees were still brought up, with Stroman saying, quote, "beyond excited." You know what I mean? A lot of false media reports when I got traded over that I wanted to pitch for the Yankees. Completely false. I was beyond excited to be traded to the Mets, to be honest with you. I have way more Mets fans in my family than Yankee fans. End quote. In late 2021, someone tagged Stroman in a tweet that had 2 photoshopped edits of the man himself in a Yankees uniform, only for Stroman to respond with a gif of 50 Cent laughing and driving away in his car. And when questioned on why he hates the Yankees so much, Stroman did not hold back, tweeting out, "You mad because that crazy payroll continues to let you down year after year? Get off my page and go communicate with the front office, bitter boy." Someone else then chimed in saying the Yankees made the postseason while the Mets didn't, to which Stroman replied, "Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. They routinely spend more than any other team and acquire the biggest names at every trade deadline. The way they spend and the players they get should result in much more success than they've had. You don't agree?" Naturally, you would think Stroman would be a Mets guy now and just hate on the Yankees. With that being said, do not put it past him to not hesitate to turn on the Mets and their fans as well. Why? Because that's exactly what he did. 2021 was Marcus Stroman's final year before becoming a free agent, and it was a really good one. In fact, it was one of his best seasons. Now granted, Stroman isn't a stranger to having good seasons, but 2021 saw him make 33 starts while pitching to a 3.02 ERA in 179 innings. To add on to that, this was coming after an entire 2020 year of zero baseball for Stroman, someone who opted out of the shortened season. It was impressive to see what Stroman did each start, and of course, like I said, fortunate enough for him, he was in his walk year, so at least a good chunk of money was headed his way. Stroh ended up signing a 3-year, $71 million contract with the Chicago Cubs just before Major League Baseball implemented the lockout. Good for him, he gets his money, and hopefully the Cubs try to build a little more around him and others to make a contender for 2022 and beyond. With that being said, from the moment the 2021 season ended, all the way to even now, months after the fact of him signing in Chicago, Stroman did not fail to stir some drama. When the Mets started to show more interest in other players, Stroman blamed it on race, liking, or in other words, supporting tweets that claimed the Mets were only interested in guys like Kevin Gausman and Robbie Ray because of the color of their skin. That said, people don't like black men having a voice, while also liking tweets from fans that trash Gausman and Ray, saying that Stroman is better. You then have this kind of tweet that Stroman liked. Yeah. So Stroman is now with the Cubs, and everything is all good. Until it's not, and for no reason in particular other than the fact that Stroman likes to stir things up a bit. After the 2021 season ended, Marcus Stroman publicly stated that he wanted to return to the Mets, but when the team started to show more interest in other pitchers over him, he has had a big change in tone regarding the Mets. His newest rant started after he mentioned seeing former teammate and current free agent Michael Conforto, saying that he hopes another team signs him rather than the Mets, and when a fan asked why Stroman left New York, he replied by calling out Billy Epler despite not mentioning his name in the tweet, going on to double down on his position, saying that he is beyond thankful to be gone from the Mets and that God has him. The reason he called out Billy Epler and his supposed lack of self-awareness, which was in the tweet, was because of the whole situation with former Angels employee who was distributing drugs, which led to the late Tyler Skaggs' death. Now, whether Epler knew about that or not, it's really not necessarily to repeatedly attack the organization that once employed you for no good reason. Marcus Stroman has always preached positivity and good vibes, but what he continues to do on Twitter just doesn't line up with that. Stroman also claimed that he had gotten death threats, racial slurs shouted at him, and told that Black lives don't matter while the front office didn't care about any of it. Well, if that was all 100% accurate and the full-on truth, why didn't he mention getting called a racial slur or receiving a death threat during the season when it was supposedly happening? Fans can be crazy and unnecessarily hostile at times, don't get me wrong, but the fact that this is all coming after the Mets showed little interest in bringing back Stroman compared to other starting pitchers and after he has publicly bashed his former team, it's fishy. If those things actually did happen, it's wrong and those people need to be held accountable, but it all just doesn't line up. Marcus Stroman always has a chip on his shoulder, but maybe it's time that chip gets a little smaller and less paranoid. Let me know how you feel about Marcus Stroman, and thank you for watching.